Okay, guys, I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough of where we are today and why it's been a little while since I uploaded the last video and what exactly is going on. I showed you, hey, cool, I got gold powder, and I stopped. One of the reasons I stopped is the last video set, you will see that I couldn't sell this. That's what I explained, and that is the truth. Nobody here will buy this. They all pretty much told me to go hang because I've already recycled it. And what I've got isn't pure gold. It's a lot of silica and other things mixed in, which is a fact. I didn't take that to them and say, hey, this is pure gold. I did. And they were like, wow, okay, it looks it. You got really good color here, one guy told me, for that. And that's right. That's what it should look like. But at the same time, he's like, it's really not pure gold. You still will have other stuff in there. And he's right. And I knew that. What I assumed was, and now I see why they didn't want it, was I assumed there was nothing in here that would screw up a melt. Well, I'd never done a melt, so I didn't know. I put it in when I got my torch, heated it up. Because once I couldn't sell it, I knew that I had no choice but to go to the next step and to try and make a gold bar. Well, I'm excited about that. I want to make gold bars, man. I'm very excited about that. And so what I will say to you is that I can't make gold bars with this setup. You might think, but I've been told that you're wrong. This, if you look, does a pretty good job of filling that. Okay? When it's all melted, it doesn't really settle down much more than that. So let's take a look at our big guy here. If you look really closely, you can see all these little tiny gold flakes in it, but they're teensy tiny, and they're really only visible with my bare eye because of lighting and whatever else. And where you look and see a big piece of gold, that's not. That's actually a little tiny piece of the stone that's stuck to this, which tells me that it is taking weight off the stone. Well, that's not good. That's bad. Anytime I'm adding anything into it, I'm adding an impurity, which means I need to get a proper crucible more than likely. However, I also saw that I am able to remove things from it with borax and whatnot. And I am told that if you do this and just keep flipping it and burning it and flipping it and burning it, every time you do a burn, you add borax a couple times during the burn, you let it rise up, or flux, you go back and forth between, that's what I've been doing, going back and forth between pure borax and flux, and to make sure that I get that rise every time. If I don't get it from the borax, I go to the flux, and I get it one of the two every time so far that I tried. So yeah, this works, and every time that happens, it shrinks a little bit in the process, but that is what you're looking for. If I don't see that rising up and coming back down, it really didn't do jack. That's what I've been seeing. But every time it does rise up and come back down, I am losing material. Now the problem came where it seemed like it was going exactly the way I had been told, and that this was going to be feasible, and I might even come back with an actual gold bar, because there came a point where I started to see little tiny gold specks. And then in the next time I did it, the specks got slightly bigger. And then the next time I did it, it got worse, and the whole thing got heavier. And I think it's because I added a ton of borax, and it didn't all cook off. I can see it in it since then. So the next time I did it, I just crushed it all up, put it back in, and cooked it. It melted back together, which showed me that I had more borax in it that I needed to actually get it to melt together, which is bad. I don't want that. I also used too much of that. It doesn't burn off as well as this, which is why they use soda ash. Soda ash will burn off completely and just leave a tiny little bit of carbon footprint, which is nothing. So it's not bad. Anyway, this is where we're at today. I am still in the process of trying to do this, only I ran out of gas. Luckily, we have a barbecue that has propane, which belongs to my roommate, which was a funny story. I actually found that and hooked him up with it. It's too funny. It seemed like all the stuff he really wanted, I found and hooked him up with. And every time, just by coincidence, big suitcase, I found a bunch of nice ones one day. He ended up buying 2 of them over the course of time at different occasions. Cheap, we're buddies, $20. And that's just one of those things, we don't charge each other a lot for stuff like that. We'll look at each other and be like, okay, that's worth $300. Let me see, 30 $40 is great. And he'd be like, okay, hey, will you take some smokes and a couple of grams of weed and some cash? I'm like, yeah, that's what I got with it anyway. And the next thing you know, it goes on like that. I mean, we're good friends and roommates. You work together, right? So it's been like that. And because I have good friends, thank you, Chris and Jeff and Rick, not necessarily in that order, but Rick and Chris have contributed huge to this. Jeff was a millwright, and so we talk a lot about the theory and the science behind it. And so it's helping in every respect to have all these people. Not only is it helping in terms of me doing my research, but it helps because I wouldn't have this right now. I had to stop here because I couldn't get any farther because I ran out of gas and I had no more money. I'd had to wait until I had more money. Now I have more gas. The problem is what I see here is I'm seeing greenish in this material, which I'm afraid is the same kind of greenish I'm seeing here in the rock. Greenish means copperish. But copper's not so bad, but it also can mean other sulfides. And I should have thought of that before I used this, but I knew theoretically it's the perfect material. Even where it was really thin, it didn't crack. It's still been a great solid crucible, and I'm cooling it in water without letting it cool. I just take it and drop it in water, completely submerge it. And it does very well. It's never cracked or caused a problem. It's a great crucible in a lot of ways, if you want to get that. But once you get to that, you're going to need to get rid of all the crap in it, which means at some point I may actually have to line this with a steel liner. No, you don't want to use any kind of metal. I might have to line this with little ceramic chunks or something to make it so that it doesn't absorb anything in the final stage. You might think it would run through the cracks, but it really doesn't. It basically forms a blob of mold that's like way thicker than molasses. It doesn't just pour. That's one of the reasons you need borax when you do it, because it doesn't just pour. It doesn't just slide all over the place. In fact, you have to work it with the torch and the borax to get it to come together and then to get it to move in any one place. Anything you touch it with, like a fork, is going to be having it stick to that. And I have found all this out through experience. What I will say is that the process seemed to be working. And I'm not sure yet whether I'm actually losing materials in the stone and then gaining them back later, because that's possible too. I mean, look at the color. It's taken on a whole bunch of red that wasn't in the rock before. And I had a whole bunch of red in this, and now I don't see any. Ha-ha! There's the magic, baby. So it's a trade. I'm losing some material. Some of the oxides are going into this rock, but I'll bet money I'm taking on one or two more. And I can't remember the exact stone that I'm supposed to use for this. I'm pretty sure I chose the wrong one because it has an oxide in it, and I'm now picking that up. It's soapstone, I'm pretty sure, but it's not. It's similar. Same genus. So I'm going to have to do some research, check what kind of stone I do have, and make sure that I'm switching to a stone that works better for my particular application. If I was making a knife, this would be perfect. A little bit of copper in it won't hurt it. Makes it stronger. Makes it less brittle. Not bad for a knife. Same in jewelry. So I'm not worried about the copper part. In fact, it's taken out so much red, and I'm seeing so little red in my batch now, that I'm actually confident that this process is working, and I've seen that it's removing all my crap. Look at the layers of junk that are in the rock that weren't there to start. I showed it. Those have all come out in this process and are now in the stone. That's actually a good thing, and this whole stone could turn like that. This can absorb crap for a really long time, and then it kind of pulls it away from the top, and it just pulls it away in layers upon layers upon layers over time. And eventually you'll have to throw the stone away and start with a new one. But it is working. It has done everything it said it would do. I was at a dead standstill, and then a friend gave me the gas, and now I'm able to keep going. But this is now costing me a fair bit of money. I'll have owed people right around $50 by the time this is done, and that's going to come off my check to get this. Well, I'm not highly impressed with that. Worth $10 to see if I can get it back to a gold bar. That's what the goal is. We're going to see how it goes. I will show it to you after the next melt, and I will tell you straight up, guys, this is about 6 melts. 6 times I put it in the crucible. I boraxed it, I fluxed it, I flipped it, I boraxed it, I fluxed it separately, each time waiting until I had burned off all the rest of the crap. I need to wait more and be more patient about it. I also needed to use slightly higher temperature. I found at the end I got kind of frustrated because it didn't seem to be going as well as I'd hoped, and just started cranking up the temperature. And I found you only start on a low temperature at the beginning to make sure you don't blow the borax around and all that stuff, and to warm things up. Once you've got things heated up and you've got your material in the batch and your borax is melted, crank the heat. And really blast it in there, because you are trying to get a lot of heat into this, and the more heat you get in, the better, and the more it'll burn crap off. So that's one thing I learned. I didn't do that because I barely had any gas, and when it was given to me, the torch, it only had a little bit. I could hear it in the bottom, but that was about it. My friend estimated it would give me 45 minutes of run time, and I will say it did. It gave me right about what he was predicting, maybe 40 minutes, maybe 35 of actual burn time, but that was enough to do this half a dozen times, and get the process down pat, and to also glaze my crucible and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways I'm seeing a lot of positive progress. In a lot of ways I'm seeing I'm not there yet, and this is not saleable, my friend. This is not saleable. This is not something that I can just take and, does this look like a gold bar to you? I don't effing think so. So if anything, I've ruined all of the circuit boards that I had, because at this stage I have nothing here that can be sold. This is not gold powder. It's gold dust with some silica and some other crap. This is not gold. This is gold dust with some silica and some other crap. We still are not done yet, but this button is half the size it used to be and didn't lose much weight. That's a really good sign. That means the process is working, and may have been successful had I not run out of gas. But it's good because it gives us a chance to take a break to show you what's really involved. What I'm going to show you in the next video is the one thing you can really do to get back gold from electronics quickly and efficiently using nothing but the acid. And there it is, baby. These are gold flakes, my friend. And upcoming, I will teach you how to recover gold flakes. And these are not a lot. This would be a long way to go, guys, but you could do it, and you could do it easily, and you could do it living on the street. This is gold flake, guys, and this is a nice carat gold flake. This isn't real light. This is 18 karat gold flake, baby. And what it means is, if I save this up, I will get cash back. So what I recommend is you do what I'm doing. You take all your flake out, but I have not been prioritizing flake. I did the other thing, make as strong acid as I possibly can, and turn it into this, powder. So in this video, we're just talking about the powder. We're just showing you the powder and where it's at right now and how that's been going. I got very little flake out. When I got to this point, and I saw what happened here, you might think I started going for flake. No, that's not true. It's just happened to be that I recycled my chemicals. And so I did a batch of vaporizer stuff, which is all plated anyway, and really ideal for making flake if that's what you want to do. And then I started to make powder with it. Only because it was weaker chemical now, it actually did an incredibly good job of flaking, which brings me to a whole nother part of the video, and led me to realize that I could do a good video on how to make flake for you guys, and that this is actually the best way to make money with it if you're on the street. It's a one-step, one-shot process. I can even show you how to just pick out the flake with some tweezers, put it in a vial like this with some water, shake it up, wait till it all settles, pour off the water halfway, fill it up, and keep doing that to clean it, and you have what you need with in a setup no bigger than what fits in your knapsack, with nothing but what you see here. You won't need a crucible. You won't need any of this stuff. You could do it just with this. Just bring back the right material, but that means you're not really doing computer circuit boards, but you are doing fingers. The circuit boards have deeper traces that have a whole bunch of green crap in them. You don't want that. They don't flake. That stuff doesn't flake off. It just comes off in like powder form, which gives you this. And you don't truly want that. You just think you do. Like I did. But trust me, you don't. What you really want is this. I didn't think so. I didn't think I'd be going for Flake. I'm not trying to sell to paint shops. I wanted a goddamn gold bar. But right now, that's just not feasible. It might be with enough time, money, and effort. But hey, if you're on the street, you having $50 to put out for all this stuff, minimum, if you can find a good scale from a friend cheap, if you can find a torch for free and just buy your gas like I did. I got really lucky here. I could have spent hundreds of dollars here. And that is why I don't recommend it, because now you got to carry around a delicate scale in your bag. You got to do all kinds of things. What I really recommend is you do what you're going to see in my next video and just make flake. Because if you make powder, now you're screwed. You have no ability to get cash out of that whatsoever. But yo, save the powder. Don't throw it out. It has silica, which you can actually sell separately if you separate it out. And it has gold powder, which I will show you how to refine. And eventually, you can save up and make cash off the flake for now. Save the powder that comes out at the end. And eventually, you'll be able to save up, get your gear, and make gold bars. That's my recommendation, guys. I'm going to show you how. Keith out.